Hey, welcome to the Hills and Hollows podcast, episode 3. I'm your host, Jordan Fuller, and today we're continuing our conversation with Jason and Sabrina Ray on parenting. If you missed last week's episode, go ahead and check that out and then tune back in here. We're going to go ahead and jump right back into the conversation. So touching back on the social media topic, how do you guys as parents, especially with teenagers, balance the monitoring of their social media and their friend group? Because, I mean, it's so easy for someone to get involved with a friend group that leads them south as well. But giving them the freedom to do what they want to do as well. Like, where's the balance in that?
My job is to protect my kids and to raise my kids the way that God has instructed me to. I will be responsible one day when I get to heaven as the man of the house, as the father of the house. I will be responsible for that. I'd rather protect them and then be mad at me and me not protect them and something happened to them. And so I will take that chance if they get upset. But it is a struggle. And I hope, we pray that our kids realize that it's not so much them that I don't trust, because I do trust my daughters and it's the secular world that we live in that I don't trust.
We're pretty strict at the middle school level. Our middle schoolers that have phones, they pretty much use them only to text.
Yeah, there's no apps or anything. We block. We create that account that counts hours, so I control all of those accounts. And again, it's just they're only 11, 12, and 13. We don't think they can handle that. And as they get older,
yeah, as they get into high school, we allow some social media. But again, we monitor all of that pretty heavily through the program that we use is Bark. And we do see alerts, anything from bullying to language, pornography, violence. We get all kinds of alerts. Some of them are mild, and we go, okay, that wasn't anything to be concerned about. Some of them have been. Some of them have been things that we've had to go to them and say, help me to understand this situation, or help me understand why you said that. And, as I said before, I think my children think a little more carefully before they send out a text, before they say something. It also gives me a lot of peace of mind as a mom. I don't have to spend hours scrolling through phones. We know they just delete stuff anyway. So the program kind of does the work for me. It has, good tools that I can use as a mom, and, kind of that work smarter, not harder mentality.
So what would your advice be to a parent out there who's maybe discovered their kid is bullying or being bullied or looking at pornography or something like that? What would be the best approach, in your opinion, for that?
We've tried on numerous occasions to sit down when we're not angry. I think that's really important. Having time to think and process what you want to say, I think is important. Sometimes parents fly off the handle. They get an alert, they go in there and they become defensive and are questioning. And I think you need to really step back and have a calm conversation where the child does not feel like that they are necessarily being defended or on the defense. We've worked really hard to have conversations that are inquiring, but not pointing fingers. Like, help me to understand this situation. Help me to understand why you said this. And it can be something simple, like, maybe they said something ugly about a friend and we get an alert, or about a teacher. Why would you say that about that person? Help me to understand.
And they go through their side and they explain how they were feeling when they said. So I think one of the things is it has to be addressed. And that issue has to be addressed. I think there's a lot of parents who say, I don't want to address it because then my kid won't be my friend anymore or will be mad at me. Let them be mad at you, because if you don't address it, it will lead to other things. But we know all those issues lead to other issues and so forth. Pornography is not a fun issue to talk about with your 10-year-old son who's looked up something on YouTube TV in your house of, beautiful women that you type in. That's not something that but that's a conversation that you have to have. Or, a conversation of, well, why do you, say that to a friend that is your friend, you say? Mm-hmm. Why do you say that for? And those are they're hard conversations, but they have to have, and if they get upset at you, I promise you they're going to get over it.
Yeah, we had a situation with some mean girl talk recently. And, we had to have some real conversations. This isn't how we talk to other people. Even when you're angry, even when you're mad, even when you've been hurt, like saying those things to somebody who you said was your friend last week, but now you're mad at them, so you're spewing
and all your
verbiage.
Backgrounds of your phone is your pictures together and so forth. How can you go from taking 100 pictures and putting them all as your collage and so forth now to talk, help us understand that. And
to me, that's more teaching and role modeling. But, I also wanted to add, several of our children have needed help professionally at different periods. When our children were being adopted, they were in therapy. They were processing a lot of grief. One of our daughters really went through a period of anxiety and depression, and we got her help. Because although we love her, we're not professionals. One of our daughters is going through a health crisis right now. And we've really encouraged her that maybe she should seek, some type of therapy to help her process, all those deep feelings that she's having. I personally think there's a big stigma with mental health. And with getting help. And again, that goes back to that pride and, embarrassment as a mom. We don't want to admit that our kid might need help. And
we don't want other people to see that our kid's going to therapy. How dare, people say that our kid's going to therapy. But you got to do what's best for your kids.
Yeah, and knowing when you aren't the right resource and somebody else is. Like I mentioned earlier, those godly women in our church, I knew at that time my daughter needed someone else besides mom. And so, finding whatever tools that is. Sometimes that's a guidance counselor or a good teacher at school or your youth pastor. But, really.
Because Jamie's been wonderful.
Sure. Jamie's
been
a great godsend. We've had other quality people in the church that have stepped up. But, really widening your circle. It's not just you and your child. There are lots of people out there that can be helpful in getting your child from point A to point B.
It takes a village to raise your kids.
So we've talked a lot about your kids and the amount of work it takes to parent, and we talk about it taking a village. But how do you guys take time just to find time to replenish yourself, to work on your relationship, and just decompress?
One thing we're really big and intentional about is getting away a few times a year. I'd say about every 3 months we plan at least a one-nighter. It doesn't have to be anything big or expensive, but a break.
Put it on the calendar.
And we try to schedule that. We also usually attend a marriage conference yearly. I think that's a huge bonus. It kind of resets and recharges us. Date nights are probably not as consistent as I'd like. I would say we get out maybe twice a month if we're.
We got it twice this past week. That was back-to-back nights.
That was nice.
That was a treat.
It was a treat.
But I think it's very important. But Jason and I are not afraid to close our door and have a conversation. I know our children are a little older. They're not screaming at the door anymore, needing mom and dad always. But we're not afraid to close our door to have a conversation and say, Mom and Dad are talking.
And then there's no, and at the same time we have the understand. I mean, there are days weeks that she comes up and says, "Hey, I got girls' night out," and I'm like, "Nope, she's going out to eat with friends. She's going to a movie." Or come in, she's like, "I'm going to hop in the hot tub." Those are things that she has to have. For me, it's the other is, "Hey, basketball game's on. You're watch it. I got this tonight," and those are just understandings that we have, that we've been, and I don't hold, I don't want to say a grudge or anything, but when she goes out with friends and, it's not like, oh, I can't believe she's leaving here. That's what she needs. And I encourage her to do that.
We actually attended a Bible study when the kids were little, and there was this principle that the first 10 minutes that you walked in the door were supposed to be just for you and your
Couch
spouse.
time.
And it was couch time. And we used to laugh because we were like, this is crazy. We had like 4 kids under 6 or 8 or
Yeah, it
whatever.
was-
And, they were hanging on our legs, but it was such a good role model because we would come in and it didn't matter what we would do. We would sit down on the couch and the kids knew, like, go do something else. Like, just give mom and dad 10 minutes. And that was such a really cool time. Even when the kids were young, we would try to just reconnect for that 10 minutes when we walked in the door. And sometimes it was just, all right, you're taking this one to basketball and I'm taking this one to
It was just going over
soccer,
schedules.
And this is for dinner and I'll be home. Sometimes it was just legalistic, but just to physically sit in each other's presence and I don't want to say ignore the kids because that sounds rude, but to not make them the focus of the moment.
So in closing, is there anything maybe that has influenced your philosophy on parenting or any general advice that you would just like to share with our listeners?
I guess the only thing that I would say is just give yourself grace.
Yeah.
Every day I think I could have done that better. I should have said this. I think we just second guess ourselves a lot as parents. Did I tell them I loved them enough? Did I hug them enough? Did I play Battleship enough? Did I throw the ball in the backyard enough? I think there's just a tremendous amount of guilt and self-doubt as parents that we're not doing it right. And I think just giving yourself grace. And when you mess up, own up to it. We had a little spat a couple of weeks ago, as all married people do. And I said something really sarcastic and not so nice to Jason in front of the kids. It really upset him. And when he came to me and told me that, I had disrespected him in front of the kids, I realized that was wrong. And so, I went to the kids and said, I want to apologize. I brought them all in the kitchen and said, Mom really said something today that was not fair. I said it because I was upset. And, first off, I want to apologize to Dad. But I wanted you guys to know that just because I was mad didn't mean I needed to spout off. And I need them to know that it's okay as parents, that we're going to have spats, that we're going to have times we disagree. But more than anything, I want them to see positivity. After we had a little spat, we made up, we apologized, and did I do it awesome? Could I go back and do it again and do it better? Sure. But, I'm trying to model for my kids how to be a real human. And real humans mess up. And they're going to mess up. And I think just giving everybody a little grace.
And for that, I think that as parents, we have to give other parents grace.
I just had one more thing to add. Probably one of the things that works best in our marriage is just teamwork. I have a lot of friends that are married, but the mom seems to be doing predominantly all the child rearing. And I'm very grateful that Jason is a team player. He cooks supper. He does grocery shopping. He knows how to throw in a load of laundry. He's quite capable of picking kids up from sports and taking them or helping with homework. We're in this 50-50. And that's something that I'm sad for some of my other mom friends is that they don't have a partner. And I can only imagine how hard that is as a single mom.
But I also know my lane due to the fact that
You got a lane?
because like the other day we were going to the doctor and I was like, hey, do you want me to stop at the store? One of them's, is getting a pageant dress. I said, I'll stop at the store and let her look.
He did. That was very
And
odd.
she's like, no, that's
I
not.
said, stay in your lane,
stay
buddy.
in your lane.
That's not yours.
Pageant
That's
dressing
not your
is not your
job.
lane.
And so I'm like, I'm just offering. I can drop her off at, we can go to the store and let her. No, you just don't worry about that. And so, I mean,
Don't get me wrong. We do kind of have some defined roles. He's more
Right.
the cook. I'm more the laundry girl. But seriously, nobody's working harder in this marriage than him.
Same way with- yeah.
And I just think that if you can truly get to a place in your marriage where you're equally participating, things are just going to work better. And I know I have so many friends that just don't have a great husband that's coming alongside them parenting their children. So, I would encourage the dads, if there's anybody out there listening, unload the dishwasher, buddy. Help with supper. This was meant to be teamwork. This was not meant to be all on mom's plate.
It's good advice. Good advice from me too.
Love it.
Hey guys, well, thank you so much for hanging out with us today. And that wraps up our series on parenting with Jason and Sabrina Ray. Until next week, we'd love for you to like us on Spotify, like us on YouTube, and subscribe. Leave a comment about what you liked about this episode. And always, you can stay connected with us at foothills.cc/Hills and Hollows. We'll see you guys next week.